In a burst of hilarity, composer Alexina Louie and librettist comedian Dan Redican created the Nothing Like It Anywhere mini opera Toothpaste, and then teamed up with film director Larry Weinstein and yours truly, Alex Pauk, conducting Esprit, to turn it into a widely laughed at, groundbreaking 6-minute opera for TV. Starring the then diva in the making Barbara Hannigan and the famous Kids in the Hall comedian Mark McKinney, lip-syncing to the voice of Doug McNaughton, the piece caught on with TV viewers around the world. CBC Television then commissioned Burnt Toast, a collection of 8 more short comedic operas from the same team. But now here's Toothpaste. After watching, stay tuned for a short, entertaining discussion of the piece by the creative team.
You've left the cab of the fucking toothpaste. What about yesterday? What about last week?
It wasn't me.
Don't deny it.
It wasn't me.
Ah! Constance, don't deny it.
It wasn't me.
Well, it wasn't me.
Okay, so it was me.
Ha!
What does it matter?
So you admit it?
It's only toothpaste.
You admit it.
I do so much, but do I hear one word of that?
Thanks for the crusty toothpaste.
Scrub the sink.
You just don't care. Though I must suffer crusty toothpaste. You just don't care.
I feed the fish.
You just don't care.
Change the
You just don't care.
There must be more to life than this.
You haven't cared since you met Charles.
Charles?
Don't deny it.
Charles is a friend.
Please, don't deny it.
A friend I've met with once or twice.
Ah! Once or twice.
Once or twice.
Admit it. Admit it. It's all over between us.
It's all over between us.
it's all over between us. No more silent evenings.
No more dirty dishes.
No more Chinese takeout.
No more all-night bowling.
Bowling. No more conversation. No more you. Oh, no more you. Ah! No more crusty toothpaste.
Hi, I'm Alex Pauk, music director of Esprit Orchestra, and I have with me the wonderful creators of Toothpaste.
Toothpaste.
I thought maybe it would be an interesting thing to discuss the origin of these pieces. They're very unique.
It was this this workshop we were doing where every day we had to come up with different ideas. It was that we have writers and composer workshop, and every day we had to come up with some different ideas and write them up. It was fun. We got to work with different artists every day. Obviously, the composers did all the work. We just had to scribble down some ideas, and they weren't going to be long, so you had to scribble for a fairly short time. The poor composer would go back overnight and try to get something together, and every day there'd be something different from people that we would hear from each other, and it was fascinating. It was, for me, my first real introduction to opera, and I realized, I was going to say I learned a lot, but I realized how little I know. It was fascinating for me, and I did this and towards the end, I think this one with Zina that I forget where it was in the week now, but
it was the 4th of 5 days. I came up with the idea over lunch. Why don't we have a couple and they're having breakfast together, reading the paper, having coffee, and somehow they end up with a big explosion, and they end up in a fight, an operatic fight from a very normal circumstance that I think most of us can relate to. But it was your idea to actually focus it on the toothpaste tube.
So this workshop production that you did made a grand leap into the world of film. And so maybe you can explain that, Larry. What happened?
Yeah, I heard about Alexina and Dan meeting and creating this thing that they were quite happy with, Toothpaste, which at the time I guess was just for voice, and then the orchestration was not an orchestration, it was for piano and voice, right? So Zina was quite excited about it, and we had been friends for years and years. I had made a film about Alexina back in 1986, and we knew each other, and Alex, of course, for all those years. And Zina said, "Oh, I just did this great project with the writer Dan Redican, who's brilliant and witty, and he got me to do this, and it was like a funny project. I haven't had funny projects really in the past, and maybe it would be interesting as a film, as a short film." And of course, in the meantime, the station Bravo had introduced Bravo Facts, these short, either musical pieces mostly, or dance or opera related stuff. Maybe this would be good. But the problem was, she called me, I was in the middle of a mix on one of my films, and I said, "I can't, I'm really, really busy."
I would pester you every now and again because I was writing a big opera for the Canadian Opera Company, and
Yes,
it was hard slogging, hard work, and it was a serious opera with murder and suicides and the regular operatic stories. And I wanted a break. I wanted something funny, something that would be fun to do.
And then years later, around 99, 2000, I had an assistant at Rhombus named Matt Hornberg, and I thought, oh, this might be, he's interested in producing. Maybe this would be a good thing for him to produce. Zena, Dan, are you still interested in this? And anyway, we said, why not? Let's do this.
Well, Dan Redican was the person who I think said, how can I put this subtly? You didn't think that opera singers' actions were funny enough to get comedic timing.
That you needed actors, that you needed comic actors, not just singers.
Right, isn't that, well, I remember that, Dan, and that's how we ended up with none other than Mark McKinney and lip-syncing for Doug McNaughton, who was one of the singers that sang our little operas for the workshop.
I've been friends with Mark for years, and I'd worked with him on Kids in the Hall, and went back to, in the early days when Kids in the Hall, I used to play shows at the Rivoli, and then so Mark McKinney and the Kids in the Hall would open for me when I was performing, and then sometimes I would open for them. As it went along, one of their managers came up to me and said, do you really want to open for the kids? Do you want the Kids in the Hall to open for you? People are going to be awful disappointed. They're here to see the Kids in the Hall, and you want them to open for you. And I think I said something to the, I'm not sure if this is it, but I think I said something like, fuck you. I did just fine.
Yeah, and Toothpaste had a tremendous impact on Mark, because he actually learned how to sing, or thought he did anyway.
We're making a film about toothpaste. It's running out of time on a Sunday afternoon. Will we get the film done?
I think he ended up thinking that was actually his real singing voice by the end, after the film was made.
Yes, he could kind of imitate the voice and do it and imitate it pretty well, but it was not an opera singer. But that's Mark. He gets so much passion when he does things. I remember there was one, they wrote a thing with the Kids in the Hall where the guys were a rock band, and he'd never played a guitar before, and he found some sounds he could make on the guitar, and he went, I could start a rock band. Okay. Sure.
When it came to casting, of course, Alex and I had to talk about who the singers were going to be first.
We knew very early on that this was going to be a lip sync situation. This was not going to be something that we recorded live.
Yeah.
And so therefore we had the luxury of okay, who are the perfect singers? And then we'll think about which actors will lip sync for them.
Because normally it's singers who are in the studio to get the perfect sound with the orchestra, with the perfect sound. And the singers are normally the ones that lip sync themselves, or they're recorded live on set, right?
I guess so. I mean, if you think about the Hollywood musicals, of course, you find out that Audrey Hepburn wasn't singing My Fair Lady, or Leslie Caron wasn't necessarily singing in Gigi. It's actually an old Hollywood tradition. Although now people are so freaked out when they hear, oh my God, they lip sync themselves. I think they should just relax and enjoy the thing.
Alex and I were thinking about who should sing Constance, which is, we needed a certain sound for it, right, Alex? Do you remember? We talked about needing a clear voice.
Actually, a voice that was not necessarily operatic, because the scene doesn't take place on a big stage somewhere. It takes place in the intimacy of a home. So it's a different kind of thing. Not that the singer wouldn't be able to sing opera, but we had in mind somebody very specific worked out very well. None other than Barbara Hannigan, who has now become an international superstar. Larry, I think she made some comments to you about this being an important project for her.
She expresses her resentment towards me because there's been a number of big magazine articles about her because she is so famous, and often somehow they attribute the toothpaste as being her big start. And she has said that, you know, it's the first time she was filmed, but by no means was it her start. She already was on that road upwards, and she's quite resentful that we would be able to give credit for her rising star. And I think that had she not done toothpaste, she would not have become a star. She would be nothing. So I'm willing to take that credit, and I think we should all embrace that.
I've always said Barbara Hannigan would be nothing without me.
So Barbara, it's fantastic because she actually does lip sync herself, and that intimacy that you talk about, Alex, was absolutely the key. With this and then the subsequent operas, it was always about bringing the voice down, and because we knew we were going to have close-ups, and it was going to be film. The idea was to conceive it as a film, and to set it in natural environments, and just have a lot of fun with that.
Toothpaste actually had an international impact, and the reason is because I think people identified with certain aspects of the film, namely toothpaste and what happens with it. And maybe Dan, the idea of the toothpaste and what happens with it is the core of this, and is the stimulus for the music and the action, and actually also not the stimulus for certain things that happen in the film.
Yeah.
How did you conceive of that?
Well, it sort of goes back to an old comedy idea, which is that drama is serious and comedy is way more serious. So, you know, if you're watching the few moments of a film and you see someone walk in the door and drop their keys and get their keys again, and they oh, that doesn't matter. They do little small moments, they meet their kids and they hug their kids. You know you're watching a drama. You know that something dramatic now has to happen to make this bigger. But if you walk in the house, if someone walks in the house and they drop their keys and the keys fall in the grate and they have to get them out of the grate, and oh my God, they're waiting outside for him. He's got to get to the hospital in 3 minutes. Then you know it's a comedy, because everything's serious and of maximum importance all the time. And the goal of a comedy is to find how much weight you can give something. So the smaller the thing you get, if you go, you know, someone's lost his paperclip, and that's the paperclip, that's my lucky paperclip, it becomes comedic the more intensely you take a small thing. So the idea of someone just getting so upset about, you know, the toothpaste, it's got to be the end of the world for him, because it's just massively serious for him. And then everything grows out. It turns into a drama by the end, because you realize that it's masking something much more serious. So it's always a good place to start, to say of how much can you make out of nothing, you know, like how the cost of tomatoes, that's, you know, that is the thing that ruins your life, you know.
But then to transform that innocuous thing into opera, where people are really singing, and the orchestra is also there, acting to amplify the feelings of the character. I remember feeling their feelings, trying to wrap all of that into music, even though I know that it's comedic. I've never done anything, I had never done anything funny musically in my life, and I didn't know quite how to approach it, but it was serious and funny. But at the end, when they are reminiscing about the lovely times they had together, all night bowling, and then Larry, of course, sneaks in a picture of bowling, of the two characters bowling in the background there, Larry. they're remembering how wonderful that their lives were together. And at that point, I can't remember what time in the morning it was, but it must have been 2 or 3 in the morning, knowing also that I have to copy it all out so it's legible for the musicians. I had some tears because I
Yes.
was thinking, oh, this lovely marriage is breaking up over something as little as toothpaste. And remember, we also argued at that. I mean, we had a disagreement about the descriptive word that you used for toothpaste.
The fucking toothpaste.
Yeah, I thought for the passion of it, it should be something where that's you know, that's where you let it go. That's where you say what you mean.
Can't we change it to freaking instead of the one that you actually want? And then, of course, Larry, the filmmaker, when you know, when Larry got to it.
Yeah, that caused a bit of tension between Dan and me, because Dan is not a great fan of puns.
No, it's not that I don't like puns. I just like good humor.
Like if we ever showed this on the CBC or something, I didn't think that they liked the F-U-C-K word for broadcast. So I just sort of came up with that pun to make it, I was pretending it was a Vietnamese toothpaste or something like that. So it's PHU hyphen K-U-N-G, so Phu King.
CBC decided not to broadcast it because of the word or because of
Yes, but and I even suggested bleeping it. I think bleeps are very funny, because they're like highlighters.
Yeah.
But unfortunately that didn't make the grade. I wanted to ask you about your use of musical quotation, and when it occurred to you to actually quote Tristan and Isolde, the Liebestod, the love-death theme of all things, which is some people believe is the most beautiful moment in all of classical music, and is the most heartbreaking moment in all classical music. And you've got it in Toothpaste.
That was very early. That was a very early idea of yours. I think that was, you were toying with that even before you started writing the music.
because it's beautiful and it's yearning and it's deeply expressive music. And yes, I thought about it as we were actually talking, didn't I? I mean,
Yeah.
I wanted to work it in somehow. And so it was in my mind and I sort of was aiming to that point in the opera.
It's to me the perfect comedic instinct.
Oh, thank
because
you.
it is. It's saying take the thing that's the least comedic thing. It is just no one smiles during Tristan and Isolde. You know, it's not a dry eye in the house. So I say, yes, we're going for that.
Humor is hard to achieve in music, and you have done that with some other things as well, Zena. For example, the flourish when the goldfish make a quick movement. I mean, you know, that's quite a different kind of musical humor from the Tristan quote, but that is sprinkled throughout.
When we would watch it with an audience of people who really knew opera, there'd be laughs at these odd moments, and I'd be going,
That's right.
Oh. It was great. It was great.
I thought I should let you know that there is a not to be missed sequel to Toothpaste. It's called I'm So Over You. It's the last of the Burnt Toast mini operas, which you can join us for next week. It's been a pleasure to have you with us for Toothpaste. As for Burnt Toast, here's the trailer.